on Holy Island, when I bought this, many people says you won't get planning permission. Then I went to the planners. I talked about my vision. I talk about how it's going to bring benefit to Scotland and Ireland. When you work with them very closely, then you really get what you want. And if you don't manage to work that closely, then because government office, they have their own standard and they have their own way of dealing, people don't actually need to think properly. They have also black and white, what they can do and what they can't do. This letter says that, this letter says this, so it doesn't work. So a lot of communication, a lot of persuasion, a lot of research. Like in the beginning, I had to find a lot of money to do research and engage professional people, well-known people who are environmentalists.
The existing building, as I described there, is the farmhouse. That used to go into a small septic tank over there, and like a lot of properties around here, just ran off into the sea. So when the new project was built, which is those wings, approximately 60-person hotel you've got there, conference centre, all those toilets and everything now go into this system, which is a big holding tank here, big 2-chamber septic tank, and then it feeds into the reed bed. And the reed bed's basically a line of perforated pipes which should be all perfectly level so that the water pours in there and then just trickles out over the whole area of the reed bed, feeds the medium for the reeds to grow, and I'm not entirely sure what it is, but I think it's basically just stones. It's not like it's got any other material, it's the dirty water that the reeds are feeding on. And then that water lingers in that area, and the reeds suck all the crap out of it. And the clean water soaks away. Another part of the system is this business of the upper reed bed, which it's just there. Once a year we empty the solid matter from here into there. In the winter, when it's quiet and it's cold, and hopefully when the wind's blowing away from the building, move it in, and it just builds up, roughly speaking, you build up maybe about 6 inches to a foot crust of stuff in there, and then those reeds just over the year consume the solids. And that reed bed's also plumbed, so ideally speaking, we should be pumping from here. If we get the right pump that could deal with the solid matter, we would pump from here into there, and then the liquid comes back, it's plumbed back from that reed bed underground back into the tank. The maintenance costs are very little. Ideally we should buy a pump, which might set us back £1,000, 1,500 quid, but the running costs are very minimal. There's a certain amount of maintenance you should do on the reeds just to keep them from choking up with any sort of a couch grass or whatever that's encroaching into the reeds. That's about it really. Fencing it off to keep animals out. I wasn't personally here, and I'm not quite sure who to blame for this, but on some level we could have had a better designed usage of the water that's available, i.e. rainwater harvesting for flushing toilets and showering and such like, but that didn't happen, mainly because the consultant that designed the thing, and that is me blaming somebody, the consultant said to us that the water supply we have in the hill, which is a tank which collects from a number of springs and a certain amount of groundwater that it gathers up, we were assured that that would be enough water for all year round supply, which is not quite the case. Maybe 2 months, 3 months of the year, depending on what sort of summer we get, we do run short of water. And first few years that we ran the place, we were having to advise customers not to shower once every 2 days and such like, which was a bit of a pain. So having had this system as it is, our best solution then was to put a borehole in. So we've now got a borehole adjacent to the tank in the hill there, and when in those months when the water starts to get a bit lean, Balcock drops, borehole kicks in, tops up the system. And the borehole is such that there's a huge potential for water in the borehole. It's debatable on the ecology side of boreholes. I know Arran is more or less totally dependent on boreholes now, and but that said, we're pretty confident that what we're using is making no impression on the water table. We're using it only 2 or 3 months a year, and then it's just topping up what's there. But having said that, the people who put the borehole in advise us that the borehole pump will survive better if it's used more frequently. So we've now taken certain things, the boathouse there that deals with the day visitors, that little toilet also for the day visitors, and a standpipe in the garden are going to be plumbed directly into the borehole, just to give the borehole pump more opportunity to keep going all year round. So we're hoping that'll work out. And this water here that we have at the moment in the tank, the water that we're given to begin with, is not drinking quality as it comes out. It's pretty good water, but there's a certain amount of contamination in it. So over in that building just there, there's a settling tank, carbon filters, sand filters, etc., which filter the water and then pump it up to header tanks in these two buildings, and then that feeds the whole place. And so, but the borehole water itself is of the quality that you could bottle it and sell it. So that, but it still goes into the same system, because we'd have to replumb the whole building again to put in this fresh drinking water supply in parallel with the existing supply.
There is hope. There is a future. It's all in our hand. I think the difference with Arran as a bigger community, Holy Island, a small community, is here what I says goes. And there maybe everybody think they have different ideas. If they can unite themselves with the one goal, saying what is good for Arran is good for all. What's good for Arran is good for whole Scotland. You have to think in these bigger ways. So I tell to my staff members, everybody say, you came here because you like what I'm doing. And I ask them to say number one priority is, I want you to be a positive and joyful human being. I want you to be more caring and being willing to involve with everything what will make change for better. So it's like this vision must be kept. Otherwise, if you say, oh, there's no hope for us or no future for us, and then we do everything wrong, that even shortens the limited space we may have. So we should never become that sort of group. We should say always there is hope, and that we are capable as human beings changing. When human beings are able to do all the many good things they have done so far, and they still have the potential and the ability to do many things what is necessary to change. But sometimes a force, some outer sort of force makes people to do. When there's a choice, they think they're not ready to move. So if we completely have no oil, then people will do something about this.